CBS Sports presents the Geico Play of the Day.
In rainy Buffalo, Derek Carr finds DeAndre Washington, who's immediately introduced to Bills cornerback Leonard Johnson. The collision pops the ball into the welcome hands of Matt Milano. He accepts the gift like a cookie, shuffles off to put Buffalo in the lead. The rookie's first NFL touchdown, a timeless moment saved by the Buffalo paparazzi.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
After review.
All right, we're going to take the audience that was watching the New England-Los Angeles Chargers game out to Indy at Cincinnati, a one-point game with 2:18 left in regulation. Let's join Spiro Ditas and Adam Archuleta.
Ball overturned, and that wipes away the 19-yard play.
As you just saw, the Buffalo Bills won that one by 20 over the Oakland Raiders. Very efficient game by Tyrod Taylor. And, of course, LaShawn McCoy, big game indeed, 27 rushes for 151 yards in that one. Here's a tight one taking place in Indianapolis at Cincy. 2 minutes left in regulation. And, Coach, you were talking about the overall growth of the young quarterback there, young Brissett.
Yeah, Brissett, but the biggest play in that game was a play by Carlos Dunlap late in that game. He intercepts a short pass from Brissett and takes it in right now. That's the difference in this game with Cincinnati leading 24-23.
Hey, Colts, Brissett, you're talking about? How about Frank Gore having a good day, over 80 yards rushing? And, you know, you got to a lot of credit for hanging in there for the tough feat last week against Jacksonville, coming here today and taking it to the wire against Cincinnati.
You know, for Cincinnati, this is a must-win game. I mean, they all are, no question, but you cannot lose to the Colts in your own building, especially coming off of the beating that they took last week at the hands of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, the one thing that remains consistent is A.J. Green still getting involved with Bill Lazor calling the plays in Cincinnati.
All right, we now join Spiro Ditas and Adam Archuleta.
Overcast, cold Sunday. Saying so long from Cincinnati. We'll take you back to New York for all the scores and highlights coming up next.
All right, so the Cincinnati Bengals put it off by 24-23 over the Indianapolis Colts despite an anemic running game. Boomer Esiason said they needed to get it done. Speaking of Boomer, Nate, Coach, and Phil Simms and that.
Well, they really need to get it done. It wasn't pretty, I know, but at the end of the day, it wasn't pretty anywhere across the landscape of the NFL today, due in large part to the weather and what everybody else was dealing with. We knew that in the preseason, in the pregame show, but the Bengals needed this one. You can't lose to a backup, and as good as Jacoby Brissett has been and as competent as he has been for the Indianapolis Colts, that's how I would describe him. Cincinnati had to come away with it, and their defense did it here late in the game, and that was a really important victory for them.
And that's what we've known from this defense, to step up in big moments. But that offense, even though there's been some inconsistencies within the running game, seeing that they're getting A.J. Green involved. We see some of these teams around the league having problems getting their superstars involved. A.J. Green is a guy. Run the offense through him, and you saw him getting involved early in the game.
Yeah, I talked about the running game and trying to get Joe Mixon in there, but they're going to have some balance. And there was a couple times I think Andy had A.J. Green and didn't go to him. So he targeted him a lot, didn't really connect a lot. But, you know, and again, the defense came up with the pass rush. They have some depth right there, Phil. We talked about the big play by Carlos Dunlap.
They're loaded with pass rushers, the Cincinnati Bengals, but you got to be concerned. This is a Colts defense. It's not great. The offensive line of the Bengals, it's just not strong enough. They're not moving people out, and they can't even get a running game that resembles anything that's going to give you a chance to win.
So Cincinnati has now won 3 of the last 4 in the matchup against the Indianapolis Colts as they win this one 24-23. Coming up in just a bit, folks, we're going to have the State Farm post-game show coming your way. We're going to go over the entire scoreboard and highlights around the National Football League, and there were some good ones. Boomer talked about weather being a factor around the league. That it was, and we'll get into those details. All of that coming up after this.
This is the State Farm post-game show.
Back inside Studio 43 and the State Farm postgame show. I'm James Brown alongside Coach Nate, Boomer, and Phil. A reminder that coming up on the CBS Sports Spectacular, Golf's Best of 2017. You get to relive the memorable moments from the tour featuring Justin Thomas, Dustin Johnson, Jordan Spieth, Ricky Fowler, and more. That's coming your way next right here on CBS. But right now, let's get you caught up on the highlights. And we start.
Okay, guys, this game is taking place in Seattle right now. You can see pregame the protest by the Texans players in regards to the comments from their owner, McNair. How about this? How about Deshaun Watson, guys? What else can we say about this young man? He is a touchdown waiting to happen.
He just came off the bye, throwing a touchdown?
That's right. Will Fuller, 59-yard touchdown right over the top of Earl Thomas, the safety. And the Texans take an early 7-0 lead over the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle.
I think Earl Thomas found out he can throw it a long way, Deshaun Watson. How about the San Francisco 49ers at Philadelphia? Carson Wentz rolls out, finds Zach Ertz for a 1-yard score, made it 9-0. They missed the extra point. And then Carson Wentz with Alshon Jeffrey, who takes it the rest of the way, 53-yard scoring play, put them up 27-7. The Eagles win 33-10.
And again, the Eagles get it done impressively. I know Bill Cowher's talked a lot about that defense. Make no mistake about it, they're getting it done. Carson Wentz continues to impress. So, Coach, talk a little bit about those Eagles.
Well, I mean, you talk about the Eagles. I talked about this before in the pregame. You talk about Doug Peterson and, you know, having that great combination with Jim Schwartz. That defense, and particularly the defensive front, they got great depth. They just rotate these defensive linemen in there, led by Fletcher Cox. But, again, you can just see the duress that they put on the quarterback in the pocket. They can push the pocket. The quarterback is always going back. Defensive backs able to sit on routes because they know there's not enough time for the quarterback to sit in there and really go down the field with the ball. So I love the way Jim Schwartz calls the defense. And, you know, here's a Derek Barnett with the blocked field goal. Again, just a numerous amount of big plays on the defensive side of the ball. And again, look at there's Fletcher Cox. I mean, what are you going to say about that guy?
Get out of the way. Well, yeah, him and Tim Jernigan, the linebackers, they got size. Like we talked about this before. The offense and the defense, the lines especially, they match the city, don't they?
Yeah.
Man, they're big and tough, and they got a quarterback that matches it, and it's working great so far.
Philadelphia strong indeed. All three phases working well for the Eagles.
Yeah, and Coach, you mentioned Jim Schwartz. He brought me over from Seattle, and the first thing I noticed right away, he's all about adding pressure, bringing pressure, seeing if the quarterbacks can handle it. And then on the offensive side of the ball, looking at Carson Wentz, I mean, listen, you make a mistake, you don't really pat a guy on the back, but he threw an interception that game, bounced right back and threw a touchdown. Alshon Jeffrey, that young player is not gun-shy at all.
No. Boomer, talk about the pad that the Eagles have in that NFC
Well,
East.
you take a look at this now. They're starting to separate themselves. I saw them Monday night. They looked great on Monday night. Carson Wentz really had a good game Monday night. I think today, if you asked him how he thought he played himself, he'll probably tell you, I'd give myself a C. Because he was a little bit off today, and maybe they were taking the San Francisco 49ers a little bit lightly early in this game. But to know that they can actually win a game of this magnitude with this spread and not really play their best game, especially offensively, tells you all you need to know. They are the best team in the NFC right now as we are sitting here today. That defense is active, that quarterback is special, and they have enough, I mean, really enough to go all the way to the Super Bowl if they stay healthy.
That is a big key. And I mean, you talk about all the receivers. I think he hit 9 or 10 different receivers today. He spreads the ball out. Alshon Jeffrey has shown up big for him. And Clement showed up now to complement LeGarrette Blount. So they've got depth at running back, depth at receiver. And I think, like you said, it's right now they lost the left tackle, Jason Peters. We'll see what the cumulative effect could be with that because Vaitai ended up filling in for him.
Well, I love the defense. You know, Jim Schwartz, you talked about him. You know, go to the quarterback, and if you happen to run past the running back on the way, hit him. You know, that's what they're about. It's what he's been teaching ever since he was down with the Tennessee Titans and all those good football teams, and it shows when you watch them. Today, constant pressure C.J. Beathard was under. And, you know, when you get hit so many times as quarterback, you're going to finally make mistakes, and he did today.
Keeping our viewers abreast of things. Houston struck first, but instant updates.
Well,
Seattle.
you say that Deshaun Watson's a touchdown waiting to happen. Well, here it is. But, oops, this is Earl Thomas. You know, they threw the ball over the top for the 59-yard touchdown. Now he comes back, and it's a nice interception return for the Seattle Seahawks. And this is going to be 7-7 now as the Seahawks tie it up. And it's a huge game for both of these teams, especially for both of these teams, 3-3 and 4-2.
And I got to make one point, Phil. You said this in the pregame. If there's one thing that you look at Deshaun Watson, he has a tendency to stare down receivers, and Earl Thomas jumped that crossing route all the way.
Yeah, they're great readers. When you look at the Seattle defense, all of them, even the corners. Richard Sherman, he always keeps his rear end of the sideline to see the quarterback and the receiver, and that's the kind of style they play. They read the quarterback. Deshaun Watson, especially over the middle.
Yeah.
Well, you know, when you talk about Earl Thomas, there's been very few safeties in the league that can read the quarterback better than him.
You said he keeps what at the sideline?
Keep your tush. You know,
keep your butt to the sideline.
rear end.
That's right. You got to keep
I
your
just
eyes
wanted to
the
make sure he
field.
wasn't reading with his rear end.
No, he doesn't read with it. No, he's not that talented.
You know, we were just talking about the Philadelphia Eagles, and for those at home, we have screens everywhere. So I'm watching the Earl Thomas highlight, trying not to get distracted, and I'm getting excited. I'm getting goosebumps because right away in this very important game, you got Deshaun Watson striking first and going after the heartbeat of that defense, which is Earl Thomas. And Earl, you know, let's see how the vet responds. And what does he do? He reads the eyes of the young quarterback, not only gets the interception, but he takes it to the house. Now, what does Deshaun do after getting picked off?
I think we just talked about this today. Like you said, it's okay for some of these young quarterbacks to kind of get brought back down to earth. Throw that interception, because now let's see how you respond. And you guys play that position because you have to have a short memory, a lot like a corner.
Yeah.
A quarterback has to, too, as well, not get go a little gun shy, all of a sudden you get a guy picking you off.
Bill,
right?
it's a game of adversity. I mean, right, Boomer, it always goes wrong. So you just got to learn to fight through it. And especially as a young quarterback, you know, so much going on. Seattle, they're a complicated team, even though you think you know what they're doing. They're reading you. It's tough.
I mean, you threw 4 interceptions against them.
Apparently I did. Yes.
Remember that? I just remember that.
Sacked 6 times that game?
Sack 6.
And look at you. You bounced back right.
Yeah, got a Super Bowl ring that year.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's really good.
Talk about love being shown by these guys. More to come here in New York on the State Farm post-game show. We'll do all of that after this.
So see, you should.
Week 9 in the league kicks off with Thursday Night Football only on NFL Network. Folks, it'll feature an AFC East Division matchup that is between the Bills and the Jets, as we welcome you back inside Studio 43 and the State Farm post-game show, and right back to the highlights.
I'll tell you, the soggy Foxborough up there, Melvin Gordon gets this game started pretty good for the San Diego Chargers. He's going to go 87 yards for the touchdown. The San Diego Chargers will take a 7-0 lead in this game. Tom Brady did throw 32 of 47, 333 yards, and a touchdown pass. Philip Rivers, 17 of 29, 212 yards. Here's a touchdown to Gronk, a little delay crossing route after a play-action fake. Nobody there, but then Travis Benjamin makes this major mistake, and the game kind of changes right here. This is a punt return that was muffed, tackled in the end zone. 2 points for the New England Patriots. And when you take a look at the Patriots box score, it's littered with every name that you could possibly think of. Right there, Philip Rivers throws an interception the last play of the game. Patriots go on the win, and they are now 6-2. And you can see right there the numbers. James White, 5 receptions. Gronkowski, 5 receptions. And it was a very balanced attack by the Patriots.
Running back yeoman's duty today for the Patriots. And afterwards, you mentioned James White. He talked after the game.
Well, James, another stressful finish here at home, but offensively, the running backs had a major impact in this game, both on the ground and in the passing game. What was it about this game plan and the way the Chargers played that allowed you guys to do that?
They played a lot of zone coverage, so we knew they were going to check the ball down to us and try and pick up the first downs in situations. So whenever we were put in that situation, we just want to get the ball in our hands and make a play for the team, and I think a lot of guys did that today.
How special is it to be part of a group that's pretty deep, where you guys can spread the love that much between you, Rex, Mike, and Dion?
I mean, it's pretty cool. We're all friends. We all compete. And we're out there, we just take advantage of our opportunities. We know one guy's not going to be out there every single play. So when you're out there, just don't take it for granted and just make the right play and make a smart play for your team.
James, obviously you know what it takes to win in this league over the long term. 4 straight heading into the bye. What do you feel like you know about this group?
I mean, hey, we play a lot of tough football games, and we've been in every single one of them. So guys know how to fight, even when it's close. Just try and play situational football, but we still know we have a lot of things to improve on. It wasn't our best today. Just going to the bye, watch this film, everybody heal up, and just get ready for the next game.
James, congrats. Enjoy the break.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and up in Buffalo, the Oakland Raiders were visiting, and again, a little bit of the weather issues were taking place, but Derek Carr right here, he just checks it down to DeAndre Washington. He gets hit by Leonard Johnson, picked up by Matt Milano, who goes 40 yards for the touchdown. The defense had 4 takeaways in this game when Sean McCoy right here culminates a day with a 48-yard touchdown run. He had 27 carries, 151 yards, 6 receptions and 22 yards. Touched it 33 times today. Tyrod Taylor, 20 of 27, 9 different receivers. And I'll tell you, when you look at this team right now, playing as well as anyone.
No question, and giving an awful lot of credit to that head coach, Sean McDermott, who after the game led a very touching post-game locker room scene.
That's a great team win, man. Great team win. All about that process, right? All about that process and heart. At our home field, baby. At our home field. Great job. Where's Logan Thomas?
Hey, I just want to say thank you to everybody from the top to bottom. Y'all had my back this week, and I really appreciate it. We feel y'all's love. Yes, sir. Family on 3, 1, 2, 3.
And, of course, they are recognizing teammate Logan Thomas, who lost his daughter prematurely. And it's nice to see how unified that group is. And you were even talking about the excitement on the sidelines when they were playing as well.
Yeah, that says a lot about the head coach, but also that team. What I love about football is moments when you're riding too high, the game can ground you. But then there's moments when you're low and the game can lift you. In this moment, the game has lifted Logan Thomas and his family.
You know, this is a team that had 65 transactions up to Friday, I believe. Friday might have made it to 66 transaction when they traded Marcel Darius down to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Whatever Sean McDermott is selling up there, this team is buying. Now, they're winning. That helps. They're 4-0 at home. And you heard Coach McDermott talk about home field. When we went up there in the 90s and we played the Buffalo Bills in the 90s, and you went up in front of those fans, 80,000 strong, and now they're all of a sudden a back part of this team again, it really is quite the story in the NFL. Between them and the Rams, I'm not sure which one I'm more surprised about, but I would say because of all the deletions from last year's roster, all the really terrific players, and now this group is playing this way, it's got to be one of, if not the best story in the league. It's right there with the Rams.
Well, look at what we saw there on the TV today. One, they act like a college football team. The way they rally around each other and they celebrate. And I think this really exemplifies many things that they do well. First off, Tyrod Taylor buying extra time, and he finds Brandon Tate over the middle.
On a second and 20.
Yeah, second and 20. But what's the sideline after he gets hit here? Look at all the players, the coaches. You just don't see this.
It's like a game winner.
Yes, and it's the atmosphere that Sean McDermott's created. And Bill, you talked about all the great numbers, LaShawn McCoy, Tyrod Taylor. But you know what I noticed in that game today with the Raiders? They just out-hit them. I mean, it was a very physical game. It's rainy. And the Buffalo Bills were just tougher than the Raiders today.
You sit there and you always say that the team takes on the personality of its head coach. And I think Sean McDermott from day one, when he came up here, boom, like you said he wanted his type of guys in that locker room. You're either going to be with me or you're not going to be with me at all. And so, he got rid of those people, even going to the point of Marcel Darius. Let him go.
Let him go.
Because you know what? No one player is bigger than a team. Yeah. And these guys, as you stated, they play like a family. And he put things in perspective. Giving that ball to Logan Thomas, you know what it does? You know what, guys? It's still your family's more important than anything else we do around here. You know what? He centered him out. And to me, you know what? That's what it's all about. Because you know what? They won't care till they know you care.
Yeah.
And they know he cares about that team.
Boomer, wrap your thoughts around also where Buffalo is on the heels of New Orleans.
Well, Buffalo is going to be visiting the Jets Thursday night for Thursday Night Football on NFL Network and everything else. It's a bigger game than you would have ever thought it was going to be at the beginning of the year because both of these teams are supposed to be tanking. Don't you remember that?
Right.
And take a look at the schedule here for the Buffalo Bills, the remaining schedule. Okay, they got 5 wins right now. Can they get to 10 wins? I don't see why not, especially with the way that defense is playing. Can they get to 11 wins?
Well,
maybe they can, but they look like the one team like right now. Phil, come on. They're
exciting to watch.
They're sitting there right now. You're saying to yourself, here's a team that did not make the playoffs, hasn't made the playoffs, it seems like forever.
Right.
And now all of a sudden they're on the cusp of that right now. I know we're only at the halfway point. You don't want to overreact. But what you're seeing, you gotta love what you're seeing.
Sean McDermott, Full Metal Jacket. You remember that?
Yeah, sure.
He's that sergeant, man. He's yelling, and man, they're all falling in line, and it shows and everything. But that schedule, as I looked at it, there's not many easy outs in that schedule.
Question.
But Phil, we're listening to Sean McDermott in the locker room, and he says, trust the process. And it's 2 words. The process is there, but also trust. I've learned to look at the AFC East, and there's a few teams that I don't trust. It seems like the Jets find a way to give away games.
So now we talk about what they're doing. Well, examine where Oakland is in the mix. They had a great game last week that they won.
Well, they pulled out.
Talk about where they are. You're pulled out. Go ahead. Good point.
Well, no, I think Oakland when you look at them, it's just as simple. You know, can you trust their defense?
Right.
For them to win, we talked about this even before the show. Their offense has to dominate the pace of play, what's going on out there. And if they're not, then I think they're in trouble. Their defense showed again today. It can be had, and Buffalo moved the ball up and down the field on them.
And what's the best way to help a defense? You have to be able to run the football.
Yep.
You cannot rely on the arm of Derek Carr. It's unfair to do that because I think he needs to really have a running game around him because it trickles down to the defense, and their defense is not good enough to be out there that many snaps that they're out there. They need to try to shorten this game, and they don't have a running game, and I don't know if it's even in their philosophy.
They built this team around this offensive line. And when the offensive line doesn't come through, it's going to affect the whole team, and we see it.
Yeah, just remember, Marshawn Lynch was suspended for this game. So whatever attitude they had, due in large part to Marshawn Lynch, was not a part of this game. And think about him missing this game, going back to, you know, a place where I think that he was sorely missed today.
And boom, that's what's disappointing about this loss is that this was a chance for them to prove that they had that grit, that they had that attitude, that they could go out there with that fire without Marshawn. And they didn't do that today. And the offense was so high, so low, the most bipolar offense. Last week, Amari Cooper goes off. This week, he doesn't have the game that he wants. This team needs to find their identity, and we're halfway through the season.
You know what? You played in Buffalo before, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a different world in the NFL. There's no
when they're winning, but when they're winning like they are now, man, it's almost impossible.
Get back to that old time would be absolutely awesome. Go ahead,
They're
Coach.
12-4 in the last 16 games at home, so they're 4-0 this year. This team is hard to beat in Buffalo.
Yep.
Hey, as I look at the score here, it might be tempting to say business as usual with the New England Patriots, but early season, many people were getting excited about the headlines. We might be able to take the Patriots, but corrections have been made.
Well, there has. You know, in a lot of things, we know Tom Brady, we know the offense, and it's so extraordinary and so diverse. But to me, it always comes. I know Melvin Gordon had that long run against them today, but it all starts with their run defense. If they can stop the run, Bill Belichick has enough guys on the backside to help out this football team. But, hey, you're playing a team that can rush the passer. What do? Get rid of the football quick, throw it to your running backs. James White, Rex Burkhead over the middle. Tom Brady, Boomer is like a ballerina still in the pocket. It's incredible to watch him move around. Nobody open downfield. Well, let's give it to James White for another 10 yards. Deion Lewis caught a couple passes. And the Patriots running backs today, here's the catches, the targets. They accounted for 260 yards of offense.
You want to know how to play quarterback in the NFL? Today, Tom Brady put on a clinic because I thought there were times where that pocket was collapsing and he was stepping up and moving up and getting hit and throwing the ball. And then, as Phil just said, get rid of the ball, get it out of your hands when you know you're playing great pass rushers. And there's the poise, the accuracy, everything that Tom Brady brings to you as a quarterback was on display today. And I thought managing the pocket, the way that he played, the accuracy that he was throwing the football, it was really one of his better games this year. And he's had a bunch of really good games this year already.
Yeah, and it's pick your poison, right? If you bring pressure, then he has the ability to pick your part down the field. But we're looking at those highlights. What I love about that is when you're dumping it down to those running backs, that's your third read. That's your fourth read. You got Tom sitting back in that pocket. You're only rushing 4. He says, okay, we'll take exactly what you're giving us, and we're letting our playmakers make plays with the ball in their hands.
You know, we talk about the 32nd ranked defense, but numbers can be deceiving.
Absolutely.
Because these last 4 games, they're averaging giving up 13 points a game. They have adjusted on the defensive side of the ball. Van Noy has taken a bigger part in that defense, kind of like Hightower. They're moving them in, they're moving them outside, inside. Bill Belichick, Matt Patricia, they didn't panic. They sat there and, they went in there and said, okay, let's fix this, and they have fixed it.
So forgive me for referencing this example again, but we got another hour to fill here. Look here. You talked at the CIA when people were talking with you about leadership, and you said SDA, structure, direction, and accountability. New England is that. I mean, Tom Brady looks like he's playing in slow motion, Coach.
Yeah, he does. Tom Brady's so resourceful. That team is resourceful. And, we saw James White, the interview afterwards. What did he say? We knew they were going to play zone. We knew this was going to be our day because we're just going to take what they give us, and we had to make plays. We had to make people miss, and they did that today with the plethora of running backs that they have. They have so many of them right now. So there's so many weapons. You still have Gronk, and we didn't even talk about Brandon Cooks today. I mean, he's still the outside threat. So these guys, what Bill does is he inserts people in roles, and then he adjusts, and then sometimes those roles become bigger one week and not another week. Check your ego in at the door.
No question about it. Instant update here. It involves you, Coach.
Yeah, how about Ezekiel Elliott right here from 13 yards out after a 3-0 lead by Washington. Now the Cowboys go up 7-3. And you can see right there, Dak
Cowboys.
Prescott. Yep.
Well, I'm sorry, Bill. Cowboys, that offensive line let Ezekiel Elliott gave it. Yet last week I thought was the best Ezekiel Elliott has looked all year. He looked in great game shape, really ran. He was sharp with his cuts, great with his reads. Good start here.
All I can tell you is that the Houston Texans scored another touchdown. They're up now 14-7 on the Seattle Seahawks. So a couple of really good games going on right now as we speak, and huge games for that matter when it comes to the standings.
Deshaun Watson's a rookie, right? I just want to make sure.
And I was about to say, and Bill said, kind of bring him back down. So 2 plays later, he said, let me get back at
Floating
it.
back up.
The State Farm post-game show will continue here in New York after this.
This is the State Farm postgame show.
And welcome back to the State Farm postgame show. Join us on Saturday for a big college football SEC on CBS doubleheader. First, it'll be South Carolina battling third-ranked Georgia. Then, in prime time, LSU squares off against the #1 team in the country. That will be the undefeated Alabama Crimson Tide. Coverage begins with CBS Sports College Football pregame shows at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Right now, back to the highlights.
Yeah, Josh McCown's going to hook up right here with Robbie Anderson for a 23-yard touchdown to put the Jets up 17-10. McCown had 2 touchdowns on the day, but really, Matt Ryan, you're going to see him right here, buying time in the pocket, stepping up, going to find Mohamed Sanu, the back of the end zone. Sanu can make the touchdown catch right there. 6 catches for 74 yards. Ryan had 254 yards and 2 touchdown passes on the day, in a day where it was very, very difficult to hold on to a wet ball. Actually, Atlanta had 4 fumbled snaps in this game, but they actually were able to come away with a much-needed win as they were on a 3-game slide, but they did come out with that win 25-20.
Snapping that one. All right, Nate.
And there's the Panthers and the Bucks, the NFC South matchup right here. Jonathan Stewart goes up and away. He says, I'm not the only Superman on the field. It's Cam as well. And here's Cam doing his Superman, throwing it to Kelvin Benjamin. The big boy goes up and gets it. And here in the fourth quarter, it's Jameis Winston trying to make a play. Luke Kuechly on his return back to the field. He gets the interception. He also got 8 tackles on the day. And the Bucks, they lose at home. So the Panthers should put up 17.
And welcome back, Luke Kuechly, as you said there too, Nate. So, Nate, you've got doubleheader action.
Yeah, and there's the Bears and the Saints right here. Mark Ingram on the 1-yard line. He goes over the top. He's getting in the end zone. And there's Trubisky handing it off to Tariq Cohen. He goes in for the 1-yard score right there. And still a game at this point. Saints up 20-12. And then he throws the ball, intercepted by Marshawn Lattimore, and that right there ices the game with a little over a minute left in this one. The Saints, they go on to win 20-12.
Boy, the story of the Saints deep, giving up only 16 points per game after just looking totally holy, if you will, prior to that, but they're getting it done. Boom, hey.
All right, guys, over in England today earlier, Vikings now go to 6-2 as they take apart the Browns. You can see Deshaun Kaiser goes in for a touchdown right here. That was a good moment for the Browns. 15-9 at that point. Back comes Jerick McKinnon, 22-16, Minnesota. And then there is Case Keenum. One of his touchdown passes today had 2 of them, 27-43, 288 yards. As the Vikings now get to 6-2, and Green Bay Packers are off this week. We'll see them next Monday night, a week from tomorrow, against the Lions at home at Lambeau. But again, once again, without Aaron Rodgers. So right now in the NFC North, it is Minnesota in the driver's seat halfway through the season.
All right, Cincinnati battling back. Phil.
Yeah, here we go. Indianapolis at Cincinnati. We've got Jacoby Brissett dumps it off to Marlon Mack, and he takes it 24 yards for the touchdown. It made it 20-17 to Colts. Brissett's pass gets tipped in the air, intercepted by Carlos Dunlap. He takes it back 16 yards. Bengals up 24-23. Then last chance for the Colts. Jacoby Brissett gets hit as he throws. Ball goes incomplete. The Bengals hang on for a 24-23 victory. Andy Dalton, a clean game by him. You can see Jacoby Brissett, under a lot of pressure, still put up some solid numbers. And the Bengals, if they want to keep winning, they got to fix that offensive line and find a way to run the football.
Well, their D helped out big time, notching up 4 sacks in the win today.
Yeah, well, they did. And the thing about when I think back about Minnesota in the NFC North is the fact that without Aaron Rodgers, they are now in control. Now, we were here at this point last year with them right around the top. Remember, they started out 5-0, and all of a sudden they had all those injuries. And they've been doing this without Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford, you know, I don't know when he's coming back, but Case Keenum is like the perfect backup quarterback for the NFL. You know, he could win 3 or 4 games in a row for you. He can lose 3 or 4 games in a row. But right now, he's doing exactly what Mike Zimmer needs him to do in Minnesota. And like I said, tonight's game between Pittsburgh and the Lions, for the Lions, they can't lose another home game. And they're going to be facing maybe the second best team in the AFC right now. Yeah, I found myself comparing this year's Vikings team to last year's, but they're built differently. Even with Case Keenum at quarterback, you look at the running game, they got McKinnon, they also got Latavius Murray with Cook being down, wide receivers, Thielen and Diggs, and, of course, Rudolph still making plays. But the one consistent piece is that defense. Ooh-wee. And Everson Griffin, they are absolute dogs, and they get after teams on offense.
And the one thing they do have is they have an offensive line that they did not have a year ago, and they went out and fixed that this offseason. It comes back to that same thing, because an offensive line, if you have one of those, you can put in some other parts right now. In case Keenum is filling that part very well. But like you said, this defense is for real. And this is a team to be reckoned with right now because of that defense and their ability to run the ball and throw the ball right now, even with Case Keenum.
Yeah, listen, you look at the defense, tell me where they're weak, and there's not a spot. I can argue. Not only do is it good, it has depth. And they got game closers, Everson Griffin, Hunter on the other side. They can win the game when it's obvious passing situations. And this is not the same team as last year. It is better.
Totally.
Even with Case Keenum at quarterback, because, like you said, the offensive line, and Case Keenum is a daredevil. He is not afraid. He's a backup. He's not out there trying to protect himself. He thinks he's the man. He acts like the man. He's got experience. And, hey, look, I like the way he's playing.
Phil, right now he is the man.
He is the man.
That's right.
That's right.
As any coach would do, they've got to be multiple taskers. Bill is that guy, instant update involving Washington.
I tell you what, how you respond to a Dallas touchdown, the Washington Redskins did just that. Rob Kelly's going to take this in from 1 yard out, and now the Redskins, even with that banged-up offensive line, they've taken the lead over the Dallas Cowboys 10-7. You can see it right there, Kirk Cousins. I'll tell you, Kirk Cousins, I think he's having one heck of a year.
He doesn't get the respect he deserves either.
Another guy. He really does, because he's played very, very well. Jamison Crowder, and he needs someone to step up right now. And I'll tell you what, that's a good Washington offense. I'll tell you, they're playing with, I think, 3 backups today on that offensive line.
Be aware of the wounded animal, right? I mean, when a team's beat up or somebody's sick, look out. They're tough.
Sounds like he's speaking from experience over here, too, right? No question. Like,
Three of wounded animals, yes.
Yeah.
4 interceptions against
StateFarm postgame show continues.
Want to stay up to date? Hey Siri, show me football scores.
A reminder, we'll be back with more football next Sunday, starting right here with the NFL Today at noon Eastern. That'll be followed by a doubleheader week. In Week 9 early, many will see the Broncos taking on the Eagles. Later in our featured matchup, the Chiefs against the Cowboys. That all comes your way next Sunday right here on CBS.
JB, you want to see some great coaching and you want to see some great analysis? How about this? Russell Wilson, this ball is going to be ruled an incompletion on the field. And that would have led to 4th and 2, right? Pete Carroll challenges this and says, wait a minute, my quarterback fumbled that ball and since it was recovered by my player, I believe it should be a first down for the Seattle Seahawks. We go over, we're going to take a look at it. It is overturned, and the Seahawks get the ball back 1st and 10, and then this leads to this Russell Wilson touchdown pass. And we have ourselves a tie between Houston and Seattle, 14-14. The point being, what an unbelievably great challenge by Pete Carroll.
That was, I've never heard of a coach challenging his own quarterback that, yes, he fumbled. I mean,
as opposed to an incompletion, right?
As opposed to an incompletion.
And boom, you were right about one thing. The coaching was great. The analysis was...
No, the analysis is great. But the one thing I will say, I'm exhausted from just watching this game over here while you guys are talking. And
we're exhausted listening to you.
I mean, don't worry.
Good point, Phil. All right, folks, let's get an update from our NFL Today insider, Jason LaConfora, in the newsroom. Jason?
Well, guys, as we saw earlier, all but about a half dozen Houston Texans knelt before the game. They're still very upset about some of the comments their owner made. Originally, a coalition of players had asked for Bob McNair to be at a meeting on Monday, along with Commissioner Goodell and Colin Kaepernick and others. I'm told for now that meeting has been scuttled. We'll see if they're able to get that in place. One injury to note, Zach Miller. It's a dislocated knee, a gruesome injury for him in the end zone for the Bears today. That will end his season. And the trade deadline's Tuesday. Keep an eye on the Miami Dolphins. Very upset with their offensive production, looking to shake up that roster, I'm told.
All right, and we certainly will be offering our prayers up for Mr. Miller. That really was a very gruesome look. All right, folks, the State Farm postgame show will continue right after this. Tonight on CBS begins with 60 Minutes and the threat of North Korea's nuclear missile program. That'll be followed by a new episode of Wisdom of the Crowd, NCIS Los Angeles, and Madam Secretary. All of that is coming your way tonight only on CBS. And as we get set to wrap up this version of the State Farm postgame show, we'll get final thoughts starting with you, Mr. Sims.
Oh, shoot. Well, you got to be excited. I mean, as a football fan, for what the Buffalo Bills are doing up in Buffalo, the New England Patriots just kind of trotting along here, finding their way and getting better and better each week. And then how about the Saints? 5 in a row. And it's not how we expected. This is not, the Drew Brees aerial show. This has really turned into a smash-mouth football team. They are tough. And that game today, Chicago, New Orleans, man, that was a 15-round heavyweight fight.
You know, I would say the two teams, and I take the same takeaway I would take from you is the Buffalo Bills, and just what we're watching unfold up there is just kind of the uniqueness of the unity that team plays with. And New Orleans, again, for them, I mean, we always thought, what would Drew Brees do if he had that defense?
Yeah.
Well, he's got the defense. He's got a running game right now. That's a scary team right now, to me, going down the second half of the season.
Guys, I have my eyes in Philadelphia. I'm looking at those Eagles. Last year around this time, the Wentz wagon started to fall apart. It's just getting stronger, and they're rebuilding, and they're doing their thing out there. I'm looking at Carson Wentz, second-year quarterback, dominating the league right now.
And I would say disappointments for me, Oakland and Tampa. I thought they'd be better than where they are right now. And the other thing I want to say is in that New Orleans-Chicago game, you just heard Jason talk about Zach Miller. It was a horrific injury. But to add insult to injury, they overturned his touchdown catch, saying that the ball came out after he basically released the ball after he was injured. Something has to be done with replay once again.
Great point.
It's a catch, it was a touchdown, and it should have been given to Zach Miller.
New England, just remarkable. We'll see you next week right here on CBS.